Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are now joined by Lina Lila Carpenito. She's the founder and owner of Leaping Lotus Wellness Studio based out of beautiful Elmwood Park, New Jersey. Welcome to the show today, Lina. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining us today. I want to point out your website, leapinglotusfit.com. So you say Leaping Lotus Wellness Studio is a place for everyone. Tell us about it.
So this is a compilation of everything I've done over the years.
Okay.
I mean, it's my passion. I'm excited about it. Basically, I'll give you a little overview. It all kind of came as I was doing, I worked in a lot of medical environments, post physical therapy kind of environments, and a million gyms. I saw the apprehension in people. Like, for example, they would go in for PT, they would be there for, whatever their program was, and then they would get discharged to me, and they were like deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. I'm totally lost. They would look at all this equipment. They didn't know. And so their consistency would fall off. I mean, we would do our best. I would do my best. Some stayed. But the whole thing was super scary to them. Like, they were in a new place. They didn't want to be around people. I had a lot of people like that. And so it occurred to me, like, wow, there's really not a lot of options for these guys. Like, where do these people go? So I worked with them, made them as safe and comfortable as I possibly could, did totally my best. Sometimes it worked, not every time. And then we handled everything, like cardiac patients, weight loss patients, oh my God, you name it, like the whole spectrum. So anyway, that's how Leaping Lotus came into fruition in my mind. I'm like, well, what is it and where do people go? And so you have these gyms, right? And then you have like these boutique yoga studios, and then you have, and I would hear people say to me all the time, I don't want to wear leggings, or I don't want to, it's like the whole, like, I don't fit in there kind of thing. So you had that, it's like the boutique kind of thing. And then you had the gyms where they, everybody's like working hard and they're grinding it out, and it could be super intimidating. So I'm like, well, there's got to be some place. And these people really need help. They really need a place to go. They really need to be well, aside from what they look like, right? So it's not a vanity thing for this crowd. It's like a real life, like, I need to do something my doctor said, or I had surgery, or I have a stent, or I have a knee replacement, like something. I got to do something, and there's no place for me to go. That's pretty much how this all came about for me.
Wow.
And it was really, I don't know, it just kind of happened.
Now, as a young child, you say that you loved art, right? You loved history, fashion design. You liked creating, in a sense. And would you say your early, inspirations brought you into this business?
Now, yes. Then I didn't get it. So, totally. But I was always inspired. Like, even as a kid, I would pick up a notebook and draw. I loved to paint. I was super close to being an art history teacher because I always loved how art would mirror what was going on in the world today, and I would always like look at things like that, and I always found it fascinating. Like my senior design project, I made a dress out of metal and like this crazy hat out of like mesh and metal. So I think I've just always had that. Like that's just been a very unique, I don't know, it's how my brain works, I guess.
Well,
I guess
thank you
I'm
for
just
sharing
lucky that way.
Can I ask you a little bit about your work as a yoga therapist? I know you're a health coach too, and so much more. Do you want to start talking a little bit more about the work that you do as a yoga therapist for our listeners today?
Totally. So yoga therapy, okay, is a very broad spectrum. So a lot of times it will look on the outside like physical therapy. Like when I'm doing an assessment on someone, I'm looking at their range of motion, kind of getting intuitive with their pain level. So there's a big intake process, and some of it's very physical. It depends what a client comes to me for. If they're coming to me for a physical issue, it obviously is very physical. But the spectrum of yoga therapy, here's where it's different from physical therapy. I recently just had a client who I love, warrior woman, came to me and she said, I know that I have something emotional that I can't release, and I don't know how to do it. And someone said I need a yoga therapist, and she found me. So those are the kinds of patients, like technically, I really get a lot of those, where they know there's something wrong, they can't quite put their finger on it, or they have this weird pain in their back, or this weird pain in their stomach. They've been to every doctor on the planet, they've tried every medicine, nothing is helping. That's a very typical yoga therapy client. And so the work looks very physical because there's always movement, but getting into the deeper levels takes a lot of time, and it takes someone who's willing to do the work. It's not easy work for the client, and there is no easy recipe. I wish there was, but I can guide them and I can help them, but the more willing, the deeper they're willing to go, the more successful they will be. And I tell you, every single one of my yoga therapy clients, they're all heroes. They're just amazing, amazing human beings.
Are you there, Lena?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was
Sorry.
just saying, oh, no, that was great that you're giving a compliment to your clients. Sorry to interrupt.
No, there are, amazing. I could tell you story after story. Even our client, my very first, I'll tell you the story.
Okay,
Sorry, this is a cool
go for
one.
it.
New yoga teacher, right? Didn't know what the heck I was doing. I don't know what the heck I was doing. But this was me. This is always how it happened to me. I was in the classroom. This was in a gym, nonetheless. Guy comes to me. He pulls me aside. I have a lot of those, like, can I talk to you in the corner kind of things. So I'm like, yeah, sure. And he was shaking.
Aww.
And he turns out he was the first he was in the electrical union in New York City post 9/11. And his unit was the first unit that got to the scene. And God, the tears, the agony. He said, every time I close my eyes, body parts. He goes, we're digging and we're trying to restore and we're helping with the cleanup. But and he was describing to me what he was finding in the rubble at the site. And he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. He said, I can't sleep. I can't eat. He really had a lot of PTSD. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. We're talking a newbie here. So I said, okay, you trust me. I trust you. I said, let's go. And till this day, it's a lot of years later.
Wow.
We call each other on 9/11. He's my first phone call on 9/11 every year. And I hope he's listening because it's going to make me cry. Oh my God. Every year. And he's like, every year he says, thank you so much. I'm like, every year I say to him, you are amazing. Really. That is and I worked with his son. I've worked with his daughter-in-law over the years, and it's just kind of become this amazing. And that's just one story, but that's how it is. That's just how it is.
Well, it's beautiful. And again, if you're just tuning in, Leaping Lotus Wellness Studio, I want to point that out. That's leapinglotusfit.com. And we're talking today with Lena here in regards to how she can help you starting as a yoga therapist. Now, with COVID in place, just curious, is everything still virtual or are you doing any in person?
I am doing it by appointment only.
Okay.
In person, yeah, because it's really hard. One-on-one therapy sessions I can pretty much do virtually, but sometimes when I need to see, I can't always see movement exactly on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I can alternate between, they can see me however they want. Like, it doesn't always have to be in person, but I can do a combination of in-person and virtual, or whatever they prefer. They could do all virtual or all in person. I do recommend, though, that I at least see them once in person so that I can get a true idea for an assessment.
Got it. All right, good to know. Now, also, I want to point out now as a yoga therapist, in a sense, the other types of people that you can work with, what are some of the things emotionally they could be going through that your work can help? Does that kind of relate to the health coaching aspect? I don't want to jump the gun yet.
It's funny. People ask me that question every single day, and there's definitely an overlap, but I'll explain later where there's a clear difference between health coaching and yoga therapy. Because in yoga therapy, there's a clear yoga component where there necessarily isn't in health coaching. For example, meditation might help someone, mantras. I mean, it depends on where. I always meet the person where they're at. So I have a really good sense of, what they're telling me. I'm feeding from them. And so I'm able to give them exactly what they need, over time, over a few sessions. So it's a lot of breathing. It's a lot of meditation, and it's a lot of deep work. What I'm seeing now today in my yoga therapy work is a lot of people being overwhelmed and a lot of anxiety, depression. I mean, the state of mental health right now is really delicate. So I'm just holding space for a lot of people there is a physical component to that too. They're not sleeping, they're not eating, or they're overeating, or they haven't moved in a year. I mean, so much has been affected the last year that even the people that were fit before COVID are like, I don't know who I am anymore. And so that's really I would say a hybrid between health coaching and yoga therapy, although I would probably put it in the yoga therapy component. It takes time. So it's delicate work.
Got it.
It's really specialized. I don't know how the mental health component, the emotional component's a big one, huge one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also work with corporate wellness programs as well, right? Besides individual coaching?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Wellness weekend retreats. Hopefully they'll be back together soon. I know you offer yoga teacher training programs. You did? Tell me.
Oh my God. Awesome. So again, I'm telling you, I'm so grateful. I did my first one in April, and I'm keeping them really small. People started calling me. I wasn't sure how to handle it. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate. You want to respect everybody's decisions, opinions, and their stance on this whole thing. So I didn't want to open it up too soon and for people to be like, what is she doing?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to, but they took care of it for me. People were calling me and they said, look, they were very upfront. Here's the deal. This is what I need. This is what I want. Is it COVID safe? We went through everything and everyone was so forthcoming, and I'm keeping the retreats very small. So everyone has their own room and bathroom for the most part. But the house is big enough where we can spread out, especially now with this weather. There's so much open space outside. It's like 2 acres, and there's hiking trails and stuff. So it's really easy to, keep space if we need to, and also just take a time out. Oh my God, I can't tell you. It was so good for me. When I got there, I'm like, yes, finally. So that's been a new treat. I have another retreat coming up in June, and I'm probably going to do one a month. We'll see how it goes. One in July, one in August, and straight through the fall. Because the house where I mostly do it is up in the Catskill region of New York. And once it gets a little too cold there in ski season, the house kind of changed, like the whole thing, the vibe sort of changes. So, and keep the groups even like small, 4 to 5. Some groups know each other, so that's great, because if people know each other, it makes it a lot easier. Then I don't mind putting them in the same room and all that kind of stuff. Aww. But I do all the cooking.
Great. And,
yep, and
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. We have a delay. Go ahead, sweetheart. You do all the cooking and?
Oh, yeah, I do all the cooking and all the teaching. I do have someone that comes and helps me, but I cater the retreats to the group. So the first thing I do Friday night when they get there is like, okay, tell me what you guys want to learn, and here are the options, and we kind of just map it out. Just to give people that TLC, they need that time to really unwind.
Yep, absolutely. And at this time, Lena, I got to ask for the best form and all forms of contact for you so we could take our quick commercial break.
Yeah, sure. You can reach me at 201-903-5028. That's my business phone number. You can also text that phone number. My website is .com, and you can email me, leapinglotusfit@gmail.com.
Perfect. And on social media, is it Leaping Lotus Fit as well?
Yep, I'm Leaping Lotus Fit on Facebook and on Instagram. So come and check it out.
Perfect. Stand by. I'll be right back with more after the quick break. When we return, we'll talk more with Lena Leela Carpenito again, of how Leaping Lotus Fit can help, and also her work. She's also a teacher. She's a coach, does mentoring, so we can focus a little more on her health and wellness when we return. Don't go anywhere.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full DC areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and toll.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our ministry alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Lena Carpenito is talking in regards to how she can help you. LeapingLotusFit.com is the website. Talks a lot about her as a yoga therapist and, of course, how she can work with you virtually. And she's also seeing people, clients in person by appointment only. So let's talk a little bit about what you do as a health and wellness educator and a health coach.
Cool. So as a health coach, health coaching now is changed so much. When I started this, it was probably back in 2007, something like that. And nobody even knew what a health coach was. It was kind of like this bougie, like term, oh, I have a health coach. But it's changed so much. And I have a feeling a lot of it did have to do with COVID, because it's become so much of an accepted part of the medical paradigm now, which is great. They need us. So a health coach is different because I'm not a therapist. I don't prescribe meds. A health coach is really someone who's there for your supportive guidance. Someone where you could air out all your dirty laundry, no judgment, and we just kind of hash it out. We talk about, we problem solve. It's about learning how to change your perspective. It's like the happiness model, it's so interesting. An example, I had a health coaching client yesterday, and we were talking about the issue of time, right? This is another big issue. And she said, I can't get it out of my head. I just feel constantly like I don't have time for anything. I don't have time for anything. I don't have time. She said, there's this little voice in my head all day long telling me, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. So we talked about it. And what we came up with was how, from the voices saying I don't have time. So it's kind of like coming to those self-realizations, like, oh, right, I get it. So the more I think about that I don't have time, the more time I'm wasting thinking about that I don't have time. That's just like a good example of like how we get to problem solve in a health coaching session. And we talked about like how time is just infinite. It's there for you. It's just how you perceive the time and how you put a value on the time and what you do at the time. And that like sparked the whole thing for her. She's like, oh my God, this is a life changer. I'm like, yeah, it's that's what it is. So it's great because you see people and their success stories every day. It's like, and it was as simple as that.
Wow.
I had someone call me who had dry mouth, and we did it virtually. And I said, how much water do you drink? Mm-hmm. And we talked about a water regimen. He called me back a week later. He's like, I'm great. Awesome. See ya. That is what it is.
Wow. Yeah. Now, as a health coach, are you, working with people in regards to, well, I mean, it's great to know about how much water we should be drinking, the food we're eating. Is that part of it as well, like the dieting process?
Yes and no. So there's a fine line between, and I will recommend a registered dietitian. I work with a bunch of registered dietitians, so I have referral services if they need. But we talk about the relationship with food and the relationship with water and the relationship we have. So health coaching is really like the wellness wheel. So it's like, how are you sleeping? How much sleep are you getting? How is that affecting you? Are you waking up dragging yourself out of bed every day? And is that causing you to have too much coffee and not enough water? So it's the relationship that we have with ourselves and with everything. When it gets into like nitty gritty, or if I see someone that really needs a therapist, I have a pool of therapists that I call and refer. So we work together. Like a health coach is part of the whole model, where they refer to me and I refer to them.
Got it. Perfect. Well, also want to point out, as far as your wellness services, I mean, if you go to the website, Leaping Lotus Wellness Studio, that's leapinglotusfit.com. There's so much to you. So all the services that you offer, the yoga therapy, as we've talked about, you also do body coaching, let alone health coaching. Can you explain what that is? Do you mind?
No, I don't mind at all. I love it. So that actually, one of who I love, Robin, she's actually retired now. She's a retired chiropractor / friend of mine that I saw on a personal level, and I went to her for many years. But we were having this whole conversation one day because, it's this whole blend of like East meets West with me, right? And I was in the personal training arena for a lot of years. But again, why Leaping Lotus came about is like I saw people afraid of personal training. I saw people afraid of exercising because people would say to me all the time, oh God, don't do that to me. I'm like, do what? I'm not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. Or they would watch other trainers and be like, I can't do that. I'm like, I didn't say you were going to do that.
Yeah.
So I had a personal struggle with that because that to me isn't what personal training is. There's really like that cookie cutter, 12 push-ups, 12 sit-ups, hold plank for 2 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Or like we think we have to like beat our bodies up. Mm-hmm. Not me, not my belief system at all. I'm totally just the opposite. We need to take care of our bodies to last us the long haul. And so that's where the term body coaching comes in, because I'm really more of a coach on what's appropriate for you and your body and how to maintain that. That whole hard exercise, push, it's a, I don't want to, but it's a sure thing to burnout.
Yeah.
You can't keep that up forever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is a good point. Burnout. Oh my goodness, how that affects so many people.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I also want to point out, my goodness, the Pilates mat certification courses, the wellness weekend retreats. You do so much. And unfortunately, we are almost out of time. We have only 2 minutes left, Lena. So let's just wrap up the show, of course, about you, your services, and then we'll find out how we can contact you again.
Okay, cool.
In closing, did you want to leave anything else? That's okay. No, in closing, did you want to leave anything for your listeners to kind of wrap up today's conversation?
I am here for everybody. I'm happy to talk to anyone. Call me with any questions, concerns. I'm here to help with anything, as best I can, or I can try to refer you as best I can. But yes, my Pilates certifications are also happening. You know, that's part of the wellness thing because that's another longevity program. I think my tagline is be well, be fit, be free. And I think that sums it up in a nutshell.
I love it.
So it's just whatever you need to stay, you know, to be okay, to be happy, to be well.
Beautiful. And for people to reach out to you, I can give them the website, leapinglotusfit.com. What other form of contact do you want to leave with your listeners today?
I'm sorry, say that again, Jill?
Yep, I gave out the website. And do you want to leave another form of contact for you? A phone number or
awesome.
email address?
Yeah, totally. So phone number 201-903-5028. Email address, leapingnow.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know you today and looking forward to our next conversation. I hope our listeners reach out. Thanks again. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. More of the show is on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.